Alright, I'm Josh, I'm from New Berlin. Today we're going to make a roasted mushroom risotto. We're going to do a pan-seared salmon, butter white wine sauce with some asparagus and blistered tomatoes. We're also going to do some bourbon glazed Brussels sprouts. We'll start by prepping the mushrooms. First thing you have to do is basically just take them all and clean them. You don't ever want to wash your mushrooms because they are full of water themselves. So if you add more water, you're just going to end up with soup. Alright, so we've got these mushrooms about cleaned up, and then we'll just give them all a nice quarter. Alright, now that we've got our mushrooms cleaned and quartered, we're just going to drizzle them with some olive oil. We'll hit them with a little salt. Give them a little toss to coat. Get them nice and evenly spread out, and then put them in an oven, 400 degrees. It'll take about 20 to 25 minutes depending on how nicely you cut them down. What we're really just doing here is getting the moisture out. Mushrooms, like I said, are full of water. We need to get that out of there, otherwise that extra water will impart into your dish, whether it's a soup or anything you make. Get rid of the moisture with mushrooms. Here they go. Now that the mushrooms are in the oven, let's prep the salmon, get that ready for the rest of our meal. I'm just going to use salt, a little pepper, and some brown sugar. And we'll put those off to the side while we prepare the vegetables. I really just like using the asparagus tips for this, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to shave these for a salad later. Smash up a little garlic. Remember, always keep your fingertips in. We'll just have some tomatoes. I got some with some color. Another thing we're going to use here, some capers. Last thing I'll bring to the board here to get ready is some anchovy paste. It's kind of the secret ingredient that Caesar salad that makes it pop, adds that umami, also adds the salt. It's going to really bring the flavor of the sea to our salmon dish. Take this over to the pan and we'll be ready to roll. Personally, I use a lot of stainless steel cookware, so you definitely need to make sure that you have a pretty liberal amount of olive oil down there. The pan's already hot. You always want to have your pan hot before you put your oil. Get your oil hot before you put your protein in. That way we get a nice caramelization, good crust, some nice color. All right, now depending on the size and thickness of the salmon that you have, this is gonna, I always go by time. It'll maybe be 3 minutes on the first side, 2 minutes on the second side. If you have a real thick piece, you might bump that up to 4 minutes on the first side, 3 minutes on the second side. All right, once you're confident, and don't futz with it. The more you move it around, the less of that nice caramelization, that good skin you're gonna get. Just leave it in the pan, let it do its thing, trust your time. So now you've got about 30 seconds left on your fish. I always like to throw the tomatoes in while the pan is still hot. Be a little aggressive to the tomatoes. You almost want to blister them. You don't need salt now if you're using anchovy paste. If you are going to use salt, I like to salt every step. Give the tomatoes a little salt, then give the asparagus a little salt. Keep it on the way to build your flavor as you go. You want each vegetable to have its own flavor. Get that fish out of the pan. One of the reasons why I said that I like to use stainless steel so much is all of that on the bottom of the pan. That's the flavor that we're looking for. Now throw in your asparagus. Again, we want to blister that up a little bit. White wine, I'd say about 1/2 cup. And you want to pour right through the splash up. Just give it a little bit more liquid. Once this reduces, you're going to smell it. It's going to smell, you're going to smell the alcohol coming off. Once you no longer smell alcohol and you start to smell sweet, That's when you can throw in your garlic. I like to throw in the garlic at the end because then you still taste it. If you would have thrown it in with your tomatoes and your asparagus, it's going to be very plain. It's going to be in the background, which is fine. Whatever you like. If you're a garlic lover like me, throw it in at the end. It keeps that flavor nice and bright. While that sauce is reducing, take out our roasted mushrooms. You see how they've reduced in size? They've just lost their water weight. It's going to be perfect for our risotto. All right, now that our sauce is getting pretty thick, it's tightening up, it smells sweet, no longer smells like alcohol. I'm going to throw in our fresh garlic, throw in our capers, and this is where you want to be at about 1/2 of a teaspoon of anchovy paste. It is very strong, it is very salty, but it is the backbone of the flavor. Throw that in there. Now what you're going to do is just polish it with a little fat. You could go olive oil, you could go butter, you could maybe infuse some with some truffles here. You can go wherever you want. All right, let's start on the rest of the risotto here. We'll just need to take down a shallot. Got 1 cup of rice. General ratio for risotto cooking is 4 parts stock or water to 1 part rice. It's good to have your stock or water hot. While that's heating up, you can get your aromatics going in your risotto pan. All right, once those are good and toasted, your next step is going to be to add your rice. You want to get it up to temperature and you want to toast it a little bit. You will start to see the rice starts to get a little clear. It'll kind of drink up the oil. It can take a pretty good amount of heat if you let it. You don't have to go crazy. All right, so once your risotto is toasted, now it's wine, about 1/4 cup. Now that the wine has evaporated, we're going to start adding our stocks, and you want to do that in increments. I'd say about 1/2 of a cup at a time. So while keeping a mindful eye on your risotto, you can feel free to prepare your Brussels sprouts. All right, last thing, we've got a little olive oil, a little butter in the pan, 50-50, let it get brown a little bit. Throw our Brussels sprouts in there. We just kind of want to toast them, give them a little color. So now that we have a little color on our sprouts, we're just going to throw a little water in there, give them a quick steam. While they're steaming, hit it with a little bit of some sugar. We're going to hit it with a little bourbon. That mixed with the sugar, once it reduces, will make a nice little glaze. So now that the Brussels sprouts have finished reducing, I just finished them off with a little bit of butter. Got our risotto here. Make a nice plate. And there you have it. A nice meal made from Wisconsin.